You turn on the shower, and suddenly you desperately need to pee. You're washing dishes at the sink, and there it is again. Even rain hitting the window can set it off. But you just went 20 minutes ago, and your bladder is nowhere near full. So why does this happen? The strange part is that this urge isn't coming from your bladder at all. It's coming from a wiring pattern in your brain. So why does simply hearing running water make your body think it urgently needs to pee? Here's the answer. Deep in your brainstem sits a control hub called the pontine micturition center. Think of it as bladder mission control. Normally it waits for real pressure signals from your bladder wall, but this hub can also be triggered another way, through sound. After years of hearing water right before or during peeing, your brain built a shortcut. Water sound now means go time, even with zero real pressure behind it. The moment that faucet clicks on, mission control fires early, sending a get-ready signal to your bladder muscles before any actual fullness exists. So what happens next inside your body once that signal goes out? To really understand what's happening in that moment at the sink, you need to know what a real bladder signal looks like first. Normally, the process starts with stretch receptors lining your bladder wall. As urine collects, these receptors physically stretch, like a balloon slowly filling with air. Once they hit a certain threshold, they send a signal up through the spinal cord to that brainstem hub, the pontine micturition center. This is the slow, honest pathway. It builds gradually over an hour or two, matching how much liquid you've actually had. This is your baseline, the real deal, the urge you're supposed to feel. Right, now compare that to what happens with the sound of water. There's no gradual buildup. There's no stretch receptor slowly reporting rising pressure. The sound goes straight to the same control hub through a completely different route, a learned shortcut built entirely inside your brain. The moment your ears register that specific pattern of running water, the auditory signal reaches the micturition center almost instantly, skipping the bladder wall completely. That's why the timing feels so wrong. Your body isn't measuring anything physical, it's reacting to a memory of a pattern. So here's where we are so far. Your brain has one control hub managing the urge to pee. That hub can be activated two different ways, one through real physical fullness, and one through a learned sound cue that bypasses the body entirely. Both routes lead to the exact same place, which is why the fake signal feels just as convincing as the real one. The one open question left is why your brain would build a shortcut like this in the first place, and whether this kind of learned reflex shows up anywhere else in known science. It does, and you've probably heard of it before, even if you never connected it to your own bladder. This is essentially the same reflex made famous by Ivan Pavlov's dogs. In his classic experiment, a bell had no natural connection to food. But after the bell rang right before every meal, over and over, the dogs' brains built an automatic link between the two. Eventually, just the sound of the bell alone made them salivate. No food required. Their body physically prepared for something that wasn't actually there yet. Your bladder is running the exact same script, just with a different actor. Instead of a bell and saliva, it's running water and urination. Every bath as a kid, every trip to the bathroom near a sink, every shower that happened right before or after using the toilet, all of it quietly wired running water and peeing together in your brain's predictive machinery. By adulthood, that link isn't a coincidence anymore. It's a fully built reflex sitting inside a very old, very efficient part of your nervous system. Here's where it gets physical, not just conceptual. When that learned cue fires, it doesn't just create an abstract feeling of urgency out of nowhere. It sends a real signal down to your bladder's detrusor muscle, the muscle responsible for actually squeezing urine out. That muscle gives a small anticipatory twitch, even though there's no real fullness pushing on it. This is why the urge feels so sharp and undeniable. Your body isn't imagining discomfort. A real muscle is responding to a real signal. It's just responding to the wrong kind of trigger, one built on prediction instead of pressure. And this reflex doesn't stay confined to one specific scenario, like only the shower. Once your brain generalizes the sound of running water as a predictive cue, it applies that same rule everywhere. A faucet running while you brush your teeth, water running while you do dishes, rain hitting a window or a fountain in a park. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between these sounds very precisely. Close enough counts. If it sounds like the pattern it learned, it fires the same anticipatory signal, which is why this odd urge seems to follow you into so many unrelated moments. And the reason it feels so instant and so hard to override by adulthood comes down to repetition. This isn't a reflex built from one memorable event. It's built from thousands of quiet repetitions, stacked since early childhood, reinforced almost daily for decades. Each repetition sharpens the connection a little more, the same way a well-worn hiking path becomes easier and faster to walk than the surrounding untouched forest. Your brain isn't malfunctioning when this urge hits fast. It's actually functioning exactly as designed, running an extremely well-practiced shortcut. Which brings us to the real twist hiding underneath this whole mystery. The urge you feel when you hear water isn't a reliable measurement of your bladder's actual state at all. Whether you're truly full or your bladder is basically empty, the exact same brain hub can fire, producing the exact same sensation of urgency. From the inside, your body cannot immediately tell the difference between the two. That's the real contrast worth sitting with. You've been trusting this feeling as bladder information when it's actually brain information, shaped by a lifetime of sound and timing, not by how much liquid is currently inside you. Now that you know both signals fire through the same brain hub, here's the part that actually helps you in real time. These two signals don't behave the same way once they've started. A real fullness signal from the stretch receptors doesn't just fade because you wait a moment. It's built on physical pressure, so if anything, it holds steady or grows the longer you delay. But a conditioned signal, the one built from the sound of water, is different. It fired early, before any real pressure existed, which means it doesn't have physical backup behind it. Give it a few seconds without reacting, and it often softens or fades entirely because there was never real fullness fueling it in the first place. That difference is your test. Next time the urge hits the moment a faucet turns on, or a shower starts, or dishes are running in the sink, try this. Pause for about 5 seconds. Take one slow exhale. Don't rush to react. Just notice what happens to the sensation itself. If the urge eases or fades during that pause, that's a strong sign it was the conditioned reflex firing early, your brainstem replaying an old learned cue, rather than reporting anything about your actual bladder. If it holds steady or builds, that's more likely a genuine signal worth listening to. This isn't about ignoring your body or holding anything for a long stretch of time. It's a quick 5-second check, a way to ask your own nervous system, is this real or is this an echo? And here's the reframe that matters just as much as the technique. This reflex isn't your body malfunctioning. It's not a sign that something is wrong with your bladder or your brain. It's the exact same efficient learning system that lets you tie your shoes without thinking or flinch at a loud sound before you even consciously register it. Your brain builds shortcuts because shortcuts save energy. It happened to build one here, linking a sound to a bathroom behavior because that pairing repeated thousands of times since you were a small child standing in a bathtub. There's nothing broken about that. It's actually a pretty impressive piece of biological efficiency, just aimed at a target that occasionally embarrasses you at the kitchen sink. Over the next week, without forcing anything, just notice. Notice which specific sounds set it off for you. Maybe it's only the shower. Maybe it's dishes, or rain against a window, or a fountain you walk past. Notice whether the pause and exhale changes how intense the urge feels in those different moments. You're not trying to fix anything or prove a theory. You're simply becoming a curious observer of a pattern that's been quietly running in the background of your life for decades, usually unnoticed until it hits you sideways, in a moment like brushing your teeth. So the next time that faucet clicks on and your bladder suddenly seems to panic, you'll know what's actually happening underneath that sensation. It's not your bladder sending an emergency update. It's your brain reaching back into a memory built from thousands of small, ordinary repetitions. A childhood bath, a school bathroom sink, a shower routine repeated for years, all quietly training the same brainstem hub to treat water sound as a cue. The feeling is real, the muscle twitch is real. But the message behind it is often an old echo, not new information. One slow exhale is all it takes to catch that echo in the act, and finally make sense of a moment that used to just feel strange.